the fine print in the contract that is signed, which caused a U-turn to his final destination. He continued on his pathway of destruction and decay, never thinking that his wicked life would end. He never did take stock that the devil is not mocked, and all those broken fences will not mend.
Another politician has just taken center stage. He tells all the people that he loves them so. He comes on like a sage, says with him they should engage. A false prophet selling endless empty prose. He feels no lament for the lives that he spent. A jackal who thinks he can't be touched. But there will come a day when the devil's birds of prey paint their canvas with his lost soul's carrion brush.
He was with his favorite call girl and his black limousine, doing lines of coke and drinking cold champagne, when it heard the distant rumble of 1,000 bad lights.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
From our compound, from the West Coast to the East Coast to worldwide, both on the internet and terrestrial radio, you're listening to Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark.
And here I am, and it's definitely after dark, and it's getting late for a lot of people. As you know, our hours have expanded. We're now on from 6 to 10 p.m., Monday through Friday. That's West Coast time. And then from 9 to 1 a.m. Eastern time. Joe, you know what? Things like Mothman are being reported all over the country. At one point, it was only certain parts of the country, but now people are seeing it everywhere. I mean, from Texas to even where James lives, over to Idaho, Montana. They seem, I don't know if they're breeding more or people are looking more to see these type of cryptids. You know, I remember back here about a month or two ago, maybe it was even maybe longer than that, a trucker told me that he was driving his truck going through Texas, by the way, and he looks out his driver's cab window and he sees like a Mothman type of creature, as he described, Jeeper Creepers type of creature. It's kind of like keeping up with the truck, and then took off.
Wow. You know, I don't know what's going on. Maybe all this fracking we're doing, drilling oil, that's doing some things to the land. You know, we're having more earthquakes now than before, and we're suspect that maybe those things that fracking is causing it. So could anything like that have disturbed these animals, brought them out from the inner depths somewhere, or they're more, boy, I don't know. Back when the chupacabra was a big deal, there were 8 of them seen within 40 miles of Crosbyton here. And then there hasn't been a sighting now in 3 years. We haven't heard anybody mention them. So why did they come in? Why were they seen at that time? You know, was it a weather pattern change? Has our farming techniques gotten rid of certain insects, certain animals, brought others in? You know, that's got to be figured in too. That's like an environmental change. It's mechanical, but it's a change, because we've killed all the earthworms in Texas with the chemicals. You know, used to, the earthworms would farm for you. They dig down the holes, let water in, digest the soil, turn all the humus into fertilizer, and give something for the roots to grow in. And now we've killed all of those, so we won't have to, you know, hoe weeds or anything. And you've got to put a lot of chemicals in the earth anymore out here to get a crop, and they just keep going. The government, you know, is kind of taking control of everything, but which is just to say that makes you wonder that farming and farming practices have changed radically in the last 30, 40 years. That's got to have some kind of an effect. All this fracking, and we've got more faster highways now, and in some places where the land is abandoned, like I was saying a while ago, they don't use it for anything anymore. So you got a lot of wild creatures in there. They could be in there. So I don't know. I'm not sure what all the answer is, but a lot of reports, and people aren't just making this stuff up.
Well, I'm thinking, for years, right, they sitting there pumping oil out of the ground, okay, especially in your area or in Texas and a lot of other places. But they sit there, and then the scientist at one point says, well, okay, after we pumped out all the oil we can get out of this financially, feasible, they then figure, okay, well, we need to put something back in. So they pump in billions of gallons of water. And
salt.
Yeah, and that's not the same as example as oil. It's not the same thickness. It's not thick crude, and I think that's why 10 years later, after they do this, right, they create, I hate to say it, sinkholes start opening up, swallowing, streets, people's property, their houses, all of a sudden drop into a big, huge sinkhole. That's because they destabilize the, underground. And who knows, the caves and stuff, it could be underground where maybe some of these type of cryptics have, called home. We've destroyed it.
I think you're exactly right. I've noticed out here, there's a pattern to our lakes. And I'm wondering, and there's caverns over in New Mexico, and they come over to Texas. Makes me wonder if down below there aren't caverns down there that are caving in, or we've drained the aquifer up here. We're down like 70 feet now below what it was when I was a kid. So you take that much water out. Then in these fracking places, they've busted the shale, all the pieces down there. You take the oil out, which before was stable. It was in there, but it wouldn't move around. Well, you take that out and fill it full of water. The water's not near as stable as that oil was, and you're probably right. These sinkholes maybe that's why that's happening. Because there seem to be like a lot of them around the world. And now, is it Africa over there where the Earth is splitting?
Oh, Africa, and yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, big gap. So I don't know what that means, but I was up in some guys wanted me to go up in this cave up in Oklahoma. The ground is flat. It's out in the woods, right? The ground's just flat. All of a sudden, here's this hole in the ground, and there's a layer of sandstone down there, brown sandstone, that somehow, I don't know if someone peeled up a big area, 6 feet square, to get into the cave or how, but anyway, there's this big opening. So you could drop down in there, and there's a hole about 6 or 7 feet deep. Then we've crawled back in this cave and with lights, and man, talk about a wet cold. That was a strange experience. But they've been finding these short-faced bear skulls and other things back in there, so that's why I was in there. But that cave just goes, and we don't know where it goes, but some of these creatures we're talking about, the dog man and chupacabra even maybe, or mothman, all kinds of human-sized beings or entities could be down in those caves. That's just one I know about. I know there are others, so what they're doing in Oklahoma with all the oil drilling up there and down here in Texas, probably over into other parts of the country, it may be changing the underground, so these things are coming up out of the underworld.
Well, it makes sense to me because let's face it, okay, if you sit there and pump out the oil, you put water in, that water is going to seep. It's not like the oil, it's congealed and it's thick. So as they're pumping it in, who knows, it might be just seeping into caves that were dry that maybe these cryptics, called home. Now they have to go find another place. And if you're finding these skulls and stuff in these caves, tells you that, hey, there's been life in these caves, and there is life in these caves. So I don't know. If there is such thing as Mothman and some of those other things, which I think they could possibly be because they've been cited for so many years. I mean, I have to believe that some of them people make it up naturally. But there's too many cases out there where, legitimate people like law enforcement officers, doctors, lawyers, and stuff like that have seen them. Truckers, like I said, I had that trucker said that it scared the you-know-what out of him when he looked out his side window of his cab and here's a, humanoid flying next to him, and then this takes off. I would be scared.
Yeah, no doubt.
Think about. Go ahead.
I was going to say, no doubt, it's the same scenario from the original Mothman in West Virginia. The brother and sister, they were near the, I think it was the dynamite place there that they stored them, but they seen the Mothman up on a barn that come down and it flew beside them as they were speeding off, and it's looking over at the lady, and the brother says, "Don't look over," and she looked over, and it's keeping pace with the car.
Well, that's another thing. Birds have to flap their wings. Pterodactyls have to flap their wings, at least to glide. This thing doesn't appear to flap its wings. It just goes. It moves its wings a little bit to get up in the air. But how could it fly 80 miles an hour without flapping its wings like crazy?
Well, maybe
Which puts it in the...
Maybe it does. Maybe it flaps its wings, gets up to a speed, and then kind of, like a glider, glides for a long distance, and then, does the same thing again, get up in speed. I'm sure people haven't seen that part because who could? I mean, but that part makes more logical sense.
Yeah, they probably in shock and awe just from seeing it.
There had to be some explanation for it that's reasonable, but that could be one.
As long as I don't see one, I'm happy.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I live out here at the capital of the Mothman capital of the world, so the next time I hear the windows rattle, I'm going, what? What do you want? Who are you?
Yeah. Well, you know what? That lady has ran into a Mothman twice. If you run into her, you know what you need to tell her? Next time it happens, that she needs to go get DNA. Go somewhere to the sheriff's office, the police department, say, "Hey, I hit a Mothman. Here's the dent in my car. Can you swab it for DNA?" That would give proof right then and there if people would think about that. But people, you know what? When something like that happens, they don't think about that. They just happens. James, at the same time of the night, you just dropped off again.
Just like clockwork. I was sitting here, had my fingers crossed, and sure enough, it's just like another mystery unsolved. It happens again.
But you made it 15 minutes longer this time.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe by the end of the week I can get a whole show in without being just dropped. While I'm dropping the call. Jeez.
You need to do is check your speed of your internet. Have your sister show you how to do that, because you could be running at a real low speed on your internet, and that could be the reason why you're dropping out.
Could be. I'll have her check, and I know it's supposed to be from the company. It's supposed to be the highest, but I get what you're saying. But yeah, I'll have to. Something's going on. That's just weird.
Yeah, or there's the subject matter we talk about.
Yeah, I know. He's talking about him.
James, where are you?
Oh, I'm in Ohio is where I'm at.
Okay.
Yep. And, we was talking about Mothman. Gary, remember all the reports that I was reporting from my friend who was a guest on the show, Lon there? Look at all the Mothman reports that come in from the Rosemont area in Illinois and near the O'Hare Airport and all that kind of area. There's been, not just one or two, but routinely one or two a week was coming in.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Really?
Yeah.
This is recently or in the last several years?
Oh no! Recently, within the last 2-3 months, I think. Well, I got one or two every week. One or two comes in reports from around the Rosemont area in Illinois.
Hey, James, you might drop out again because I'm looking at it says it's a poor signal on you. So let's just see what happens.
I keep my fingers crossed. Jeez.
Well, I keep thinking, Joe. Remember Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2? Where did they